Happy Hour with Ruth and Roxy.
I'm Ruth.
Roxy. And she is Ruth. I should have said I'm Ruth.
You should.
Okay, here we go.
That would have completely kerfuffled me. I think we should leave that part in.
Sure, we'll leave it in.
Yes. Okay. So
we're here.
We're here. We're confused, but we're here.
And
cheers.
Cheers.
And we're drinking with little Flamingo glasses. Well, we're not supposed to clink them because they're a bit fragile. Here, we'll just do a flyby.
We'll do a flyby. Yeah. Aren't they pretty though? Look at that. This is Ruth. She finds things on the intrawebs.
Yes.
She goes online and she shops.
And so we just had our little community it's the last one's over because the fabulous people that we actually wrote about in the blog post are leaving,
yes.
Philip and Cindy. But so what people would do is put items in for a silent auction at the long table dinner. And I might have strong-armed Roxanne into helping me with doing a Tipsy Flamingo happy hour. And so people bid on it.
Her happy hours are amazing, and people bid a lot of money on them.
$1,500. Yeah. That's insane.
So that makes her a little crazy. So she is like, well, if they paid this much, I got to get them really great stuff. And so she does. So she scours, the
and that money goes to the community, and we do things like, they build stairs and they put lighting, like extra stuff that we want. So
it doesn't make our strata fees go up.
Yeah, and it's been really great, and it's been it's people who are our friends that bought it this time. Actually, they bought it last year too, but it's like it's a really fun event, and we will put up the little goodie bag we gave them, but it was really fun. It's also kind of why we were re-recording this, because we recorded it last weekend just before the Tipsy Flamingo party.
Well, let's see. We had our mic backwards. We had the settings all wrong.
And Roxanne wanted to talk about bum stuff.
It was so weird.
We went I can't even say it. We went down the wrong. Did you just say butt stuff?
I did say butt stuff. Yeah, because it's a thing.
What do you mean? Like,
you know what I mean. No, we're not. But I have some. Oh, first of all, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Oh, yes.
Because we do. So what we're drinking today it has a blank label, but in fact...
So it is, the top has
L&W.
L&W.
Which stands
Lock
for
and Worth. Yes.
And this is a Semillon single vineyard called Lost Horn, 2019.
Yes.
And it is, it's a Semillon, which I don't really know what that means.
So we're learning.
Yeah. It says unfined and unfiltered and barrel aged for 6 months in neutral French oak. It's pretty good.
It is good. Yeah. It's an interesting one. And Lock and Worth is another BC winery, and we will put a link to them. And I'm pretty much a Sauvignon or a specific kind of bubbles, not sweet, dry bubbles. But this is good.
This
right?
is good. Yeah.
Like I'm not a Chardonnay drinker. Like somebody keeps putting the freaking heroines in her book.
I gave you a little nod in the book I'm working on right now.
Did you?
I did.
Did you make her give her Sauvignon Blanc?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they have a little conversation about it.
Pestering works, people. Although she's got another book coming out very soon, and then your next one, right?
Yeah, the one I'm working on.
You're just finishing.
It's the finale for the series.
Has the third one come out?
Third one comes out on August the 1st.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
and then the fourth is that she's working on. And there's of course a thread, because it's 4 books in a series. And one of the questions is who the biological dad is for this character. And she won't tell me.
Nope. Clues are there.
She's a freaking vault.
Clues are there.
Yep. I had our very good friend and very beautiful podcast supporter, Beth, was saying she wants to know too, and she was like, come on, Ruth, you'll know before us. And I'm like, she's a vault, man. She won't tell me.
There's lots of possibilities, and I think that you should start a pool.
A pool. I should.
Ooh.
What I actually should do is give her more wine, and then maybe she'll tell me.
I gave her a good clue already once.
Yes.
Today, and I will eventually give this clue out online if people are starting to wonder. I will give a clue.
Oh, I'm going to whip them into a frenzy so they wonder. Although she told me.
Very good.
And
the clue did not help you.
No, and I'm going to have to go back and look, because it's in reference to something that we probably all read or saw or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have to go back and understand the connection. Yeah. It's a problem when you have these writers as friends, I got to tell you.
Yes. Well, I share that problem, because she's like, oh, we need to put a blog post up. I'll just whip one off. And I'm like, a blog post. You want me to write a blog post? I have nothing to say. And yet she says these beautiful things, like just she writes them and boom, they're there. And they're like so great. And I'm like, I got nothing. I got nothing.
That's not true.
I have nothing to say.
And Roxanne has one up today, which is worth reading because it is about her books. It's also about what was the title? Because it was resilience
and the stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Yep, that's a good one.
If you say so.
Yep, it is good.
It felt like I got to write something, so here it comes.
Well,
Ugh.
and lots of people in our happy hour community are interested in Roxanne's book. So because she's in the throes of writing the 4th book, but also having to get out there and actually say good things about herself in her books, which she does not like to do. I'm not going to say she's not good at it because when she gets pushed into that corner, she will do it.
Sure.
But she does not like it.
Don't love it. Do not love it. Yeah. So promotion and marketing is always sort of where I'm like, really? Why? I don't want to do that. Anyway. So, but I have a fun thing to talk about today.
Okay.
Hand me that book over there because I didn't put it in the right spot.
Okay, here we go.
So, this is the part where I say this next segment is not suitable for work. So, those of you who have a problem with such things may want to disappear.
She's not
right
going to
now.
talk about bum stuff. I promise you. Are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
That's what she said last week. And,
No,
and then
that was
we
just
had
accidental.
about 18 minutes that we were going to cut out, even if the tech stuff didn't fall apart. But it was kind of like the next day we're like, what did we do?
What did we do? So I see you're all still here. So that's great. Nobody disappeared on me. So
it's like Romper Room. We can see you.
That's right. So I, of course, am a word nerd. So this book is called Mother Tongue, and I picked it up, I don't know, in some secondhand store. And it's just the history of a whole bunch of different things, including a chapter on swearing. The history of swear words is fascinating. So one of the authors that I edit for writes usually historical stuff, often medieval or other time frames in there, and she uses the best swear words because we don't know these words, right? That's not where we come from. So I'll be using some here. So yeah, if this is scary for you, this is the time to turn it off. So I got to tell you a few things.
But please don't. You can mute us. Well, you can mute her. She's one.
So did you know that among the Chinese, to be called a turtle is the worst possible taunt?
Oh, really?
In Norwegian, devil is highly taboo. It's roughly equivalent to our fuck. Devil. And among the Sosa
we could replace
tribe?
that word and nobody would know. Instead of saying, effing asshat, we could say devil asshat. Then nobody would know.
You listen on.
Oh,
listen
no,
on,
there's
dear
more.
Readers. There's more. So this South African tribe, the most provocative possible remark is Lebesheko, something I can't, but it's translated as your mother's ears. Who knows, right? In French, it's a grave insult to call someone a cow or a camel, and the effect is considerably intensified if you precede it with, I don't know French, but it means kind of.
Right.
So, espèce
de. Oh.
So that it's worse in French to be called kind of a cow than to be called just a cow.
Huh.
So swearing seems to have some near universal qualities. In almost all cultures, it involves one or more of the following: filth, the forbidden, particularly incest, and the sacred, and usually all three. And most cultures have two levels: the relatively mild,
right,
and the highly profane. So among this native, the Wik-Monka natives of the Cape York Peninsula, they have insults that are fairly harmless, like big head, long nose, skinny arms. But then they have more serious ones that are only uttered in circumstances of high emotion, such as big penis.
That's an insult?
Plenty urine. Vagina woman mad. Vagina woman mad.
Vagina woman mad, I
kind of like that. Do you call someone that, or is that what you are feeling?
Right. We need to research more of this.
Damn it, I'm vagina woman mad.
What was that other one? Plenty urine. I drink a lot of water, so maybe that's...
I know, that can be a problem.
I don't think that's necessarily
so, and here's a question for you. So, why is it that get fucked is such an insult? Because it's something that most of us do for pleasure, so you might as well say, make a lot of money or have a nice day.
Right.
Like, why? Why would we say that?
Right. That's interesting. She thinks about weird stuff, man.
I do. And I will, and this going back to my author, I knew this, but many others won't, because before 1503, the vulgar word for sex was to swive. So they didn't call you a fucking idiot. They called you a swiving idiot.
Swiving idiot.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So what for people that are here, it would be interesting to see if you have any words, right? Like if there are words either from your culture, your heritage, from your town, because so we were somewhere. I think we were in a bar one time, and one of my friends said to this random guy, I'm going to forget what the word is, but she said something like, "You're an idiot," or something like that, except whatever the word was, apparently this guy had just got out of prison, and whatever she said to him that we would typically say,
right.
"Oh, you're a goof," that's what it was.
Oh.
His face went white, and he was like, "I realize you have no idea what you said." And then, I mean, he was talking, and we were just trying to be there, have a drink with the girls, but we were being polite. But when she said that, because, right, she said it, she was just mean, like, you goof, right? And he walked away.
Yeah.
Right? And it was
a
like,
real trigger
so
for him,
whatever it
was
is in prison.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the thing, right? Like, we don't always know. I have, we had somebody who worked for us for a while who was married to an Australian. And she would come in laughing and talking about how her 4-year-old daughter had gone into the grocery store and was calling someone a cunt. And I'm like, that's not cool.
No, that's
not
cool. Also scruffy's behind. In Australia, it means nothing.
It's nothing. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
There was, and my author, I think, used this somewhere. So there are some also things that are not true. So the word fuck is sexual, of course, but it was thought at some point that came from a police blotter acronym standing for...
I've heard that, for unlawful carnal knowledge.
Not true.
Right?
No,
right. I have heard that
true.
too.
And my last thing that I'm going to tell you about, going back to the word cunt, which was relatively...
bad word, man.
It was once relatively harmless, and there are people who are trying to take back that word and make it harmless
again.
can
see that.
The city
Your
of
husband,
London,
for one.
Once had
he knows it freaks me
yeah.
out, and so he'll say it in public places because he wants to see our reaction, right?
He does. So I am now part of that desensitization, but I don't like to use it. Anyway, the City of London once had an alley favored by prostitutes called, this is all one word, Grope Cunt Lane. I mean, really, okay, and I'm done. So beat that.
Well, I actually have one. So when I lived in Toronto, and there it's easy to get to lots of parts of Mexico, right? Easier than here. We're pretty limited on this side, but I used to go quite a bit, and so we started to have friends down there, and some of our friends were musicians, and I used to hear the people in the band say pendejo.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It's a bad word.
I didn't,
and then they thought it was really funny. Like they would kill themselves laughing. And I was with I was with a cousin and his partner one time. And something happened. Somebody cut us off, and I was just like, I didn't even think. And I was like, pendejo. And they were like, what? Because his partner worked in the restaurant world.
Yep.
And so there were a lot of people of Mexican heritage in the restaurant that he worked in. And he was like, that's a really bad word. And I mean, it was kind of like, I think I know what it means, but I'm not sure. I think it means pubic hair, kind of ish.
No, it's different from that.
Oh, now she's looking it up.
I'm looking it up because I need to know. I don't think it means bastard, but I think it might mean for Mexican people. It's a terrible word, right? It's not a word you would call somebody. Yeah. So here it says it means a stupid or contemptible person.
Oh. Yeah,
I thought it was worse than that.
I thought it was worse than that too, but it's really bad. Also, I do have to say, I just saw somebody put up. I think it was
pubic hair. Here's one that references pubic hair. A single, Wiktionary.
But somebody has put up a sign that you had to pass to get to the Republican National Convention.
Yeah,
and they had Trump's face and the word pendejo beside it.
It was a billboard. He's a single hair growing in the pubic region. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
But there you go. Okay. Well, that was interesting. But now I want to learn more about those things.
Yeah. Right.
And we're going to flip the narrative now and go to
ways to boost your creativity, which is, in my mind, in my world, boosting your creativity is boosting your happiness because it's really hard to be creative when you're depressed or obsessing about something. And when you are creating, it's really hard to be depressed and, and obsessed.
No, that's true.
Those two things. So for me, like, you know, creativity, I'll pick up, you know, watercolor in the winter was a lot of fun for me. But this person was saying, change, if you're in a rut, change something. So for me, if I'm trying to come up with a plot point for my book or something, it's inevitably I will come up with exactly the thing I want to say in the shower or as I'm falling asleep, just as I'm like nudging under consciousness, and I'm like, I'll remember it tomorrow. I'll never remember it. But the thing that's happening is I'm not at my desk. Right. I'm somewhere else. So sitting at my desk, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be creative.
And that's why we were laughing. I don't have any kind of a vegetable chopper for as much as I cook. It's because chopping vegetables is therapy, but it's also that's when my unconscious brain it gets to be really creative, because if you sit down, it's like, I'm gonna write this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write this thing, and it's like,
ho-de-do. Yeah. No, all your thoughts are like, nope, on strike, not happening.
It's like, there is no creativity. You don't know the words. You don't know the things. It's like, why don't you just go sit in the corner?
You know what? It's like, don't look directly at it. Don't stare
exactly
directly at the You got to like sneak around it.
But it's like a little butterfly, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to do it so it comes and lands on you instead of like trying to grab it.
And as soon as it lands, you're like, now I have to write 5,000 words really, really fast.
A social media person, and I haven't, honestly, I mostly see her on Facebook and Instagram, but we'll put links up. But it's called Love Always Heather, and her tagline is Pep Talks and Heart Rambles. And what caught my eye, because you know, the whole Taylor Swift Eras tour and stuff, and she had done a little post that said she was in her Seek Joy era. And that's what caught it when it was going by me, because it was an ad, I guess. But I read it. And she just talked about how it wasn't always like that different stages of your life, you're not capable of that, right? But now she's finding the good things. And even when she's having a hard day, she's going to search out the joy somewhere, because she's, and she's younger. I expect she's 30s, maybe 40s at most. But she has this great attitude about life. And then she has something up today that she talks about, you know, I don't have the fanciest car or the nicest home or any of that. My waistline's a bit bigger than I'd like it to be, but I love well and I love loudly. Ooh. Right? And if you mean the world to me, you most definitely know it. I smile at strangers a lot. I always return my shopping cart and I tidy up my table when I'm done eating at a restaurant. I tell people when they're wearing a color that looks good on them. And if you're behind me in the grocery store lineup and you only have a few items, I'll let you go first. If a stranger sneezes, I say, bless you. And it was like, it just made me love her more, right? And these are just little snippets that go by and remind you. So we will put a link. I would encourage you to follow her, because when you see her post, it makes your day better. Like, she's somebody, I'd like to have on as a guest, but I'd like to be friends with her.
Love Actually Heather?
Love Always Heather.
Love Actually.
Love Actually. But we will put a link, but absolutely lovely.
Okay, so I can speak to that briefly. I was in the grocery store picking up stuff, and I had a decent amount of things I needed to get a couple days ago, and I was kind of in a hurry to get home. I'd been out. It was our anniversary actually, and I was getting back because we were going out for dinner.
Not ours. Hers and Ray's.
We have a separate anniversary.
We have a different anniversary.
We have a friend anniversary.
Yes, it's in September.
Yes. So it was one of those awkward moments, where like I'm just kind of focused when I'm in the grocery store, and I had a cart because I needed enough for that. It was a store that has a self-check, but I had too many things, and I always use the self-checkout. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm, making my beeline for the next available cashier, and at the same time as I'm coming, I see out of the corner of my eye another guy coming, and I'm like, all of this is happening in like a nanosecond, right? Oh, maybe he's there ahead of me. I don't know. Should I stand back and let him go first? I don't know. I was here first. I have a car. I need to get home because it's our anniversary and we're going out for dinner, and I told him I'd be home. And all of that happened, and I was in front of this guy. And then I'm like, well, you're being a bit of a pendejo here.
See how quickly she takes up words, man.
So I said to him, like, you can go first. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, are you sure? Well, I don't really care. And I'm like, go ahead. You've got like 3 things. It's
Yeah.
fine. I've got a bunch of stuff. And it turned out we had somebody who was clearly new to the career
Oh, my
of
heck.
checking out groceries. So at any rate, it was going to take long no matter what.
Yeah. But
It's
that's
like,
it's a
you
nice
don't
thing
do
when you do that.
Water bottles, you've got 6 of them. You can say 6 times, click, and
Yeah.
it's all done. Nope. 1, 2,
Oh,
3. And I'm like, grace for people who are learning new skills.
yes.
And because at that point, I'm like, you know what? We're not really late anyway. It's
And you have to, but you do, like, because life can be irritating.
Life can be irritating.
So that's why, like, the love always Heather thing, it's just a good reminder that if you're not going to be mad about it in 6 months or 6 years,
yeah.
don't be mad about it today, because honestly, why waste today? And you know, after sort of seeing all the stuff going on in the world, and you start to realize how precious life is, that you kind of, you know, because honestly, sometimes I wake up and I get random cranky pants. Like I might have had a bad dream.
She really does.
And it's like, I wake up and it's like, I hate everything and everyone except mostly you
You're like
and maybe
Garfield.
Paul. Yeah, I
You
am.
want
It's
lasagna only, nothing but
exactly.
lasagna.
Lasagna and potato chips, and
That's
that's
right.
it. And not even wine, because then it's like, no, I'll just get angrier, because my emotions, the good emotions, get more when I'm drinking wine. But so do, like, if I'm cranky, it's then I sit there and I stew.
The threshold
Right?
is lower, and
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
Well, and it's so like I let the guy go ahead of me, and then we ended up having a conversation
Right.
because the guy was checking out 6 water bottles when he could have been just doing 1.
Right.
But and it was kind of lovely, right?
Yep.
It was nothing much. He said something about his. Well, what I asked him was, I said, "Do you use the self check?" Because he had like 3 things. He should have, like, he'd have been out there in a minute. He's like, "You know, I really hate it." And I said, "Oh, I love it. If I didn't have all of this stuff in here, I'd be using it." I said, "But you got to know the tricks." And he said, "Yeah, I don't know the tricks, so it's terrible. My wife loves it. She uses it all the time."
Yep.
My husband has a great trick. So here's the thing. You know how your bag will set off
Yes.
this thing?
Every single time.
So as long as they're light bags, they can't be heavy bags. It
Right.
doesn't work that way. Or you need to have a heavy enough thing. You take your heavy thing, a can of tomatoes, whatever, soy milk, run it across the scanner, then put it in your bag, then put it on the
that's
waiting area,
interesting.
and it will trick most of
Right.
the time. If it's heavy enough, it will trick the scanner
thing.
into not noticing your bag.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So there you go. Tip
That's
of
a
the
good
day.
one.
So anyway, so I ended up having this very small, but nice interaction with a perfect stranger.
Right. And mostly, like, I've had really good, you know, especially, and being a bit of an introvert, I actually, when I a long time ago lived on a float home, and my neighbor there gave me she made me a little pin that said, "Hi, my name is Ruth, don't even bother talking to me."
Oh, I want that.
Right? We could make them. But
The first rule of happy hour with Ruth and Roxy: never talk to us.
or never talk to each other.
talk
That's
to
all
each
you do. But it's one of those where I'm typically like, I keep to myself. I don't want anybody commenting on my groceries, because usually there's potato chips in it. But it's little. But then when you realize
Actually, the question would be, how many people
in
your house?
eat potato chips in your house is more the question.
I always ask her, how many people do you think you're feeding when we're at Costco? And she's like, well, there's you and Ray, there's me and Paul.
Feed them. I like having the things, because it's far to drive somewhere. But
And you have 2 fridges.
But you get into these really interesting conversations. Like, sometimes people are behind you, and if you just smile at them, they're like, "Oh, I had the hardest day," and then they go on, but they're funny about it, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
they say, "I'm buying all this stuff because we're having my daughter's baby shower," or my son's baby, or whatever it is, right? And it's like, there are these great moments out there that introverts sometimes miss, I think, because we're too busy being, "Don't look at me."
Right. And that's the thing, like, when you get out of that space, and I was, for once, able to get out of my headspace enough to be like, yep, you really should let this guy go, because he actually may have been there ahead of you. Anyway,
Right.
but, you get out of that moment, and I've got a zillion moments where I didn't do it.
Right.
But then
Don't we all?
afterwards, I'm like, those are the reasons that we have insomnia. You wake up in the night, you're like, you could have let that old lady go. You could have helped her across the street. Instead, she fell and broke a hip, and look, it's your fault. And then she died, and then we all died, and then there was an explosion.
Or it might be, knowing us, it might be, "Oh, I should have helped her. Did she cross the street okay? Oh my God, what about her puppy? I bet you something happened." So that goes back to the stories we tell ourselves,
the
right?
stories
And meanwhile,
yeah.
the elderly person, not old lady, because Roxanne.
Hey, I embrace it.
But
okay, I got the hat.
But this, like, that old lady might have been going to the bar to play whatever.
Totally. She's probably going out for kickboxing.
Well, right? Or going to have like a beer with a rye shooter, and she was gonna. What's that game you can play in the bar? Whatever it's called. There's some game that's like gambling kind of.
Like Keno?
Yeah, Keno or something, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like she's probably going on to a really cool place to have fun, and we're like, oh my God, I've killed her.
Yes. But yeah, I know the dark stories, the dark holes we go down.
Here she goes again, man. See, she's got a theme going on somewhere.
I'm in a weird place right now. It'll be better in about 14 days, I think.
When she's done her book.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay, can we talk about this?
Let's talk about that.
I love this. So
that is fantastic. Okay, you need to lean closer. I'm going to move the mic just a little bit because you need to lean
It's
up.
beautiful. This is made
Look at you guys.
It's made of glass. It's very pretty. And I found it. So I had a colleague that had one like this, and I asked her about it, and she told me she got it at like not a flea market, but like a farmer's market-y kind of that has crafts and stuff. Yeah. And she couldn't find the name, so I went on Etsy because you can find everything there. But I found this fellow, and he's in Turkey, and we're going to put the link up, and his name is Aydin Gungor, I think. But he was I was asking him about it and stuff, and so when he sent it to me, a couple of them were broke. So I went back to him and I said, I think it's okay, but and he's like, nope, I'll send you more of them. He must have sent 8 more. I could probably make a whole nother necklace, right?
Wow.
But he and I got talking, and at the end of all of his things, he it's either stay in love or live in love, right? is how he signs off on things. And
I've looked at this before, but I don't.
It's just so pretty.
They've got little holes in them.
Yeah.
That's where the wire goes through.
And it's blown glass, and it is and a little too fragile for me, to be perfectly honest. But because I hit things.
I thought you just broke one right there.
No. But it was just like, so I'm going to send him a couple of Canadian, like I'm going to send him some little maple syrup and some little Vancouver sea salt, and maybe I'll send him some Canadian chocolate bars, just because he was so lovely. He is like, because I was like, I'll pay for the extra bubbles, right? He's like, nope, I want you to be happy. And he's in Turkey. And so then we've gone back and forth a little bit about what our lives are like, right? And I think I don't know how old he is, but this is his art, and he has stuff that not quite as, like, you can get little rings on his site that's glass and stuff. It's really worth going to see because he hand makes all of this, right? It's really lovely.
That's pretty amazing. That's
Etsy is magical, right?
Etsy is magical. You know what? And
you should show.
That.
Yes,
I will. So my first grandchild, my only granddaughter so far, just turned 5. And I
like how she says so far. Kids, are you listening?
Yes. My daughter said she's really into stories and symbols. So she's into stories. She's my girl, right?
Yeah.
And so I went on to Etsy and I ordered her a locket because Steph suggested that, and then I had pictures put in of my husband and I holding her the day that she was born,
which is really cool, right? Like, what a keepsake.
Yeah, we'll see. I think she'll love it,
and we'll put the link to that artist too, because
it's quite sturdy. It's not very fragile. So you know what? If she loses, she's 5. If she loses it, you know what? I'll get her a new one when she's 10.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, Etsy is great.
Oh my gosh, so many cool things.
That person was lovely to deal with.
But that's just it. And most of the artists are really, really helpful and want you, and they're so excited when you write a good review.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my goodness, right?
Yeah, I
like,
got to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I warned you about this before we sat down. I have to pee, so you keep talking, say something interesting.
I don't know that you did warn me. Did you think, were you talking to me in your head again?
I was talking out loud. I said,
I was not listening.
I've had most of a glass of water.
I was in there getting wine glasses. So anyway, I will keep talking.
I will be back.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to tell you about plastic flamingos. Roxanne's going to miss this. So, the iconic plastic flamingos that, makes you kind of think of a little bit of Florida and maybe a little bit trailer park trash, which I have to say, I'm kind of really into that style. There's a fellow named Don Featherstone who graduated art school in 1957, and he got hired by Union Products, and his big first project was making plastic ducks. But then he decided that if he was making plastic ducks, he should make a pink flamingo, which he sculpted over 3 weeks and debuted in 1957. And it defined his legacy. Over 20 million flamingos later, I'm not quite sure, I think there's probably more. His work is a staple of lawn decor. He passed away in 2015, but think about that. So think about the joyful legacy he left behind, because when you see a pink flamingo, it kind of makes you happy, right? And I think that's a pretty incredible thing. So one of the things it's made me think about is what's our legacy, right? What will you leave behind in energy, right? Because the pink flamingo is just a symbol of joy, right? And it reminds us to do that. Because I was thinking, so for sure my legacy has been the rescue dogs we've had. I think my legacy has maybe been feeding people. Certainly part of a legacy. I was talking about the pink flamingo and how who invented it, and and there's been 20 million sold and made, and the fellow died in 2015. But I was talking about, think about the legacy of joy he left. And I was just saying, so when you think about what legacy, because I don't think a legacy has to be a huge fortune or something material, right? Like for me, I think my legacy is the rescue dogs I've helped. Mm-hmm. I think it's the people I've fed in joyful times, but also when they come, and sometimes you just need comfort, right? Mm-hmm. You need somebody who's going to say,
"You're really good at that.
Eat this stew."
Yeah.
but also,
although not your husband, because it turns out he doesn't like stew.
He doesn't like things touching.
That's so funny. But that's because feeding people is your legacy.
Yes.
One of your legacies.
But also, like, I think this podcast is part of ours.
Totally.
Your books are yours. The feeling of knowing you have a good book to read. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that feeling of I've got. Well, it will soon be August 1st. Mm-hmm. A book to say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you today, Roxanne. I'm reading the book that you won't tell me about.
I do love saying the things that I wanted to say, and I mean I've been writing for a long time, and the writers talk about the book of your heart, right? And typically many of us, especially if you're writing commercial fiction, you tend to write sort of the same story. It's not the same story. It's just that you have a thing to say. It's like the meaning that you want to put out into the world, and I guess you would say it's your theme.
Yeah, or, themes told in different ways, right?
And I tend to have themes about motherhood. It tends to be a recurring theme. But this series, I have come the closest to saying what I want to say. So, and I'm like, okay, I can't die for another 35 days because I got to get this last book out.
Yes,
then
she does.
It's all good. After that,
she does.
I can be hit by a bus. It's fine, but...
Well, no, it's not. But also, she does, because I need to know who the father is, Roxanne.
Oh, you'll find out. But yeah, everybody has a thing that they were put on the earth to do, I think. And one of the beauties of getting to the age that we're at is that you start figuring out what that is. Yeah. And you start doing it. And that's a pretty amazing thing.
It really is. And it's also, I think as you... And I mean, I think some of us might have been wiser at an earlier age, but you also start to realize that...
Not me, man.
That
I was dumb at an earlier age.
But it's not about the material things you're leaving behind. As much as it would be great to be able to make somebody's life a bit easier, with that kind of thing. But the other side is, it's legacy. Your legacy could be that you planted wildflowers. And your neighbors also enjoyed them, or people walking by your house, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to tell you about a story that it's probably in my crawl space somewhere. It's a children's book called The Lupine Lady.
Oh.
I'm going to write that down. You write it down.
I'll write it down. You talk.
And it's a children's picture book, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful story of an old lady who has lots of health issues, and she's really sad, and she, in springtime, goes out, and the thing that gives her comfort is lupines, and lupines are beautiful, yes. Right? So she walks and she sees them and she loves them, and she collects the seeds. And the next spring, she's still feeling pretty bad, achy and all the things, but she starts walking and she starts spreading the seeds. And then the next spring arrives, and she's still feeling sad, but she's not feeling physically as bad.
Right.
And as she walks, she sees all the lupines that have come to life because she spread them. And so she starts walking more, and she feels better. And she talks to people, and people see her flowers, and it's It's just
Right?
a beautiful story.
And
the illustrations are gorgeous.
And I think we need to, if they can still get that book, we should link to it, right? For
Yes,
sure. Because,
yes.
but I think that's just it. And when you think about it, and I can remember reading somewhere is and especially with, there's a lot of high profile people out there, and they're doing big things and all of this, but what if your purpose was to be the person that your friends turn to, or to be the person that brings joy, or the person that says, oh, you're in trouble, stay with me. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes we get these big Hollywood blockbuster ideas of that we have to be a superhero. Honestly, for somebody who's struggling, who can call you at 2 a.m, you are a stinking superhero. You know what I mean? Like, and I think sometimes we get these ideas that you have to.
Well, I can't make a difference because what do I have to offer?
Yeah, but
in
imagine
fact, we all have something to offer.
And that's just it.
It's a bit like that starfish thing.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I just thought of. Right?
Brain.
Yes.
Brain.
One brain between two people, which is a problem sometimes. Let me tell you.
You know, like, yeah, sure, you can't rescue all the starfish, but you know what? It made a difference.
It made a difference for that one, but and that's exactly it.
You know what? Usually, when the sound goes bad in our things, it's she's talking too loud and I'm talking too quiet. And this one, well, first of all, we had our mic facing the wrong way, which did not make us look super bright. But I was really loud and she was really quiet. And there was a part of me that's like, payback. And the other part of me is like, nope, sucks.
I could be a little gentle person.
No.
Okay, so the other thing I have is about the underdog and being underestimated. And by the time this comes out, the whole, is Biden going to be the nominee or not, it's going to be over with. But he has been underestimated forever. So it's made me think about this a little bit because, and I think I feel a little, I was going to say mother hen, but actually mother Canadian goose protective of him, right? Because he's done a lot he has done a lot over his career for the country. He has certainly done a lot in the last 3.5 years. But it made me think about how it feels to be underestimated. And I have been underestimated all my life. Sometimes because I was the only female coming into a room when there was an issue or a crisis. I tended to be younger than all the board members and the CEO, who typically were old white guys.
It's a very good thing that tends to solve itself, that problem.
Yeah, yes. But it is an interesting thing to think about. And I think women and black people and people of color and all sorts of people get underestimated because that's how society worked for a very long time. But I also think that when you become your own champion is when you start to realize being underestimated can actually be an asset.
Yeah.
Right? It's like go ahead, underestimate me. See how that's going to work out.
Okay, you know what one of my favorite cartoons was when I was a kid?
What?
Underdog.
Do you remember
Underdog?
God, I love Underdog.
And Overcat, the villain. I always liked cats, but you know what? But that was and in a lot of my books, there's an underdog character because I really resonate with that idea too. It's the same thing. It's the sleeper. Yep. It's the sleeper character who's there, who actually has tremendous power, but nobody sees it coming.
Yep. And because you're too busy dismissing them, that you don't actually see what their special powers are, right?
And that's, I think we've talked about this on the show before, but that scene in Ted Lasso, where he's throwing darts, right? Yep. And he's like, you know what? You guys were all judgmental. No one was curious. Nobody knew that I could play
That's exactly.
darts.
Be curious.
Right?
Don't be judgmental.
Curious, not and because of that, he took Rupert down.
Yep.
He took him down.
Nope, that's
because
exactly.
He underestimated him. I love it.
Well, and he was underestimated the whole, like he is the quintessential underdog, right? Like, and it's incredible. But I feel like there's a shift in a change in the tide. How would you say that? The tide has changed.
Tide has changed.
Right? Because Tide has turned. But because I saw a thing, I follow Blake Lively, and I love her, and I love Ryan Reynolds, right? And they're really good friends with Taylor Swift, who I actually think, as much as she's not now, early on she was underestimated. And even recently with her ex-producer guy who got the rights to her music, he underestimated her because then she just re-recorded everything. Oh yeah, right, made that worthless.
That's why it's Taylor's version.
Yep.
Okay. I don't follow. I'm a fan of her as a person. I don't follow her music, but I want to watch that.
But her business sense is but that's just it. But there's a thing, and Blake Lively had a buddy from when she was a kid, and she was laughing on Instagram about how this friend let her dress her up, right? And she was like, it was like my own live Barbie doll. I got to style her and blah, blah, blah. And then a bunch of people were talking about how Blake Lively is a crown fixer. Right.
Oh.
And so what she does, instead of tearing other women down, she lifts them up. But you fix the crown when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it's Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, and there's a whole sort of group that they have that hang out together. And that's what they decided to do, is they were going to lift each other up instead of seeing each other as competition.
Wow.
Right. And I think that this is a younger generation, and I think that is a beautiful thing when you become a crown fixer.
Yeah.
And I wish we could all do that, because instead of going at each other, why don't we look and realize that we are more alike than we have,
That requires, I think, a certain amount of self-confidence, knowledge of your own worth. Like when you are able to stop seeing everyone else as there to tear you down.
Right.
When you can recognize, you know what, I have something to offer, you're a lot more free to then help someone else, or to see what someone else might need as opposed to what they have that you don't have. Right. And that, for me, I see that as a reason to...
Just so people know, Scruffy's behind me if you see him jumping up chasing flies.
To build up all our young people, right? So that we all have the confidence. I mean, I remember my husband telling me how long ago? I don't know. I have changed a great deal since he met me. He has too. I mean, I almost said 36 years. I was saying 35 years, and he's like, you don't even know how long we've been married.
And you were together several years beforehand.
A couple of years, yeah, not that long. But he said, your posture has changed.
Huh.
And I said, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you used to, and I still struggle a little bit with posture, but
That's the introvert posture, right?
It's the introvert and it's the insecure. Because I've been tall. I mean, I'm 5'7". Apparently I'm 5'6.5" now, but damn it, I was 5'7" for most of my life. And I was that since I was 13.
Right.
So at 13, that's tall.
Right.
At X marks the spot, it's not that tall.
Right.
Well, yeah, 5'6.5" less tall. But I was always trying to hide myself because I was, I didn't want to be noticed, and I always stuck out.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you stand up straight now.
Isn't that interesting?
And I'm like, yeah, because I'm not hiding anymore.
That's a pretty big self-realization, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. But I also think like it because thinking about this and lifting up, and I am happy to lift anybody up who's willing to try, though. Like there's a fine line between lifting somebody up who's a bitch. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I am happy if it feels like I will try a few times with somebody, but if they continue, like if they're getting support and encouragement and all that, and they're not, you're not even just a sliver of change of, oh, I can do this for others, instead of, goes back to the curious, not judgmental. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to be cranky, if their way of paying it forward is to be a fuckwad to somebody else, we're done.
Pendejo.
Right. Yeah. But it's one of those where it is a fine line of who you lift up.
Vagina woman man. But you're right. Like when somebody is when you see that they, whatever, I mean, it's part of the curse of being a writer. I'm always looking at the motivation. What happened to someone to make them the way they are? And I'm always looking at people. What happened to you? What explains your behavior? And it doesn't always make a difference, because knowing what they did, it's like if I know that dog was beaten all his life and that's why he bites, I know that's why he bites. It's still not going to make me go in there without care, because I know I'm going to get bitten.
But that's
so
just
when
it.
you know that this person is the way they are for whatever reason, but they are dangerous to you, you have to use care.
Yep.
And you, it's not our responsibility to fix everyone.
No.
Or to.
No, but I also
help them grow in a way that.
But that's just it. That's not our journey, right? That's
not our journey.
That's theirs. But the other side of that is when you see somebody who just needs that, or maybe that's doing really well and just needs somebody to have their back, because doing well sometimes brings out the sharks.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's a little bit of.
My gosh, that's what's happening in my book right now that I'm writing.
Where she won't tell me who the father is.
I can't stop. I want it to be over. I just want it to be done.
It's going to be done very soon. So we have to say goodbye because we
do
we have so hang on, what else do we got?
We got other stuff.
What else we got here? You got other stuff, but we do have to say goodbye soon.
You had notes last time.
I did have notes, but I think we've done most of it, and also we have plans. Just saying, right?
We have
Pink Beverly
prior engagement
has and because this is a re-record because the pink penis was in the wrong way.
I don't feel super good about that. We're kind of dumb.
Well, we were distracted.
We were distracted. Yeah.
We were thinking about
We were also both really tired.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that came out in that one.
Right.
We're like, we're sorry, but we're really tired.
I had stayed up till like 10 o'clock that night.
Which 10 o'clock for you is like 3 o'clock
it's like,
to the rest of us.
To you, yeah.
Yeah.
But what was I making? Oh, tiramisu.
Yeah.
So yes, we were tired and kerfuffled and it was a thing. However, because we care so much about you, we went out of our way to do a new one, and also because, bum stuff.
I'm gonna have to look at that clip and see what happens there.
We're never showing that clip.
We'll see.
Well, we should show the part where Roxanne said, yeah, blah, 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 I want to talk about bum stuff. And I was like, bum stuff? And she's like, do it. You know. Anyway, what's your grateful?
Oh, my grateful. So I've set myself a word count of 4,000 words a day. For anybody who's not a writer, this doesn't mean anything. For writers out there, they're like, oh my God, you're doing 4,000 words a day. So I'm grateful that I got ahead of my schedule for the last couple of days. I did 5,000 words a day for a couple of days. So I can now take a little bit of a break because I got a fun social thing to do tomorrow, and then I got kids coming on Monday and Tuesday. So I've earned myself a little break, and I'm grateful for that.
That's pretty good.
How about you?
I'm grateful for my bubble necklace because it makes me happy. I love this.
You know what? Like, it goes with. Wait, where's your Jimmy Buffett tattoo? Your latest one. So that one is
Bubbles Up.
Bubbles Up.
Yes, Jimmy Buffett's last song was Bubbles Up. So that's exactly true.
It has meaning. It does have meaning, and it's beautiful.
It is
and
very.
You know
pretty.
what? You put that on. My gosh, you could be wearing anything, and that dresses up your outfit. It's pretty spectacular.
And it was a lovely human that made it, so that makes it even better for me.
So thanks for being here, you guys.
Yep. Have a great weekend. And we didn't talk about our Alaska trip. We'll talk about that. That's our cliffhanger. We'll talk about the Alaska trip.
Alaska next time, yeah. So what do we want more of, Ruth?
I want more happy hours and less rocks.
Less pendejo bullshit.
Less, what was the other thing? Vagina pimple what?
No, vagina woman mad. No. I think more of us need to be vagina woman mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say that. Okay. So vagina woman madness to you this week. And
I don't know what to do
in a couple of weeks. Dying.